Some things that we're taught about money, at least I was growing up and in our financial or in our education system about finances and stuff. And it's like, go get a job, spend all your time getting as much money as you can, work all the way till 65, put it aside, and then 65, go enjoy, that 401k that you built up. Or it's the other way around, where it's, hey, go spend all your time getting money, and then as soon as it hits your account, go spend it because you earned it, right? Go buy something fun. I don't know if y'all remember COVID days, COVID era when the free money was coming out, the stimulus checks. For some reason, all the jet skis and four wheelers and golf carts, all those went with boats. Boats were gone. You couldn't buy any of that because that money hit. Everybody went and had fun with it, right? So there's two ways of looking at that. It's that's can be good. You can have a little piece of that here and there, but what none of these does for you is provides ways for you to enjoy the money and save for the future and build wealth for your family, for your legacy, and have the time freedom, right? This is all about you spending all your time trying to earn those money versus investors who think of it a little bit different. Because they get the money, but then they grow it. So that eventually they don't have to keep spending time to get it. The money will earn itself and start to multiply and work for them. All right. So I'm gonna just 1 sec. I don't think there was any comments, questions. Give me a like, give me a thumbs up if you're watching, and you could share it. That would be amazing. Love you if you do. If you don't, I still love you. All right. So we went through this in that last meetup, in that last lesson. So I'm not going to spend too much time on what capital is and the role of it in our business, but really fast, capital it's your advantage. Is how you leverage yourself and what you have to get to something that you didn't have, right? You didn't have the ability to get. And so we talk about it broadly. It's not just money, right? Money, if we could disassociate that word from our investment capital, it helps us a lot more. So if it's investment capital, it's in our business bank account and it's not for us to spend. When Michelle and I were first starting that first house that we flipped on purpose, the one thing I remember her saying, I was like, I think we could do this. She said, look, if you're going to do this, you can't touch our money. What does she mean by that? Like, we have to use money. She's like, the money that comes into the home to pay for the diapers and the food and those little chewable little food bites that those kids eat, we felt like we had them everywhere, little veggie sticks. You can't touch that food. You can't touch that money. All right. So what that did is it separated. For me, it became separate. Any investment capital, it was over here in this business account. Everything from my W-2, like my paycheck, everything else went over there. Right. So if you think of it that way, it's going to help you out in the long run. I thought this was interesting. I'll share it with everybody as much as possible. But this is from SBA, where it says the way to start business, where people got the funds to start their businesses. And it was interesting that business bank loans is actually 16%, and friends and family loans was 65%. Right. So it's funny how I did that. It was 17% and 65%. Okay. And I just find that interesting. So that's where that private capital comes from. But then you also have regular capital. Okay. It's not just a tool, of course. I told you that. You're going to make it work for us. It helps you get the opportunities, right? We want to make sure that we use the right tool, right? That this image here. You don't use a screwdriver for the nail. Okay. So we'll talk about what that means with capital. You don't want to use a credit card that's 30% interest to go buy a house, right? Or something like that. So if you have other options, you don't want to use the wrong tool. Okay. But capital is the tool, like it's in the tool belt, and you got to figure out which one to use. Okay. Helps us get our deals done, gives us our super speed, right? The more access we have. And that's what I was telling you about that house where the private lender fell out. But because we were bankable, we were able to get those funds replaced and keep moving through the deal. Besides, instead of losing it, So of course we got to have that water for the business to help us grow. And this is profit first. I have to make an Amazon page. Like I need an Amazon card or something for y'all. But Profit First, incredible book by our friend David Richter, and using that formula for our capital. Okay, and so get the book. I'm not going to go through it, but it's fantastic. All right, so let's talk about these steps to get success. I'm going to drink some water real quick. All right. The bankable basics. Okay, we got to get lender ready. We got to look good. Like you got to, we got to look good. We got to dress up. We got to have our tie on or whatever. But it's not how we dress. It's how our financial stress, our business dresses, right, and our credit dresses. Okay, so yeah, I'm not the expert in this. Okay, the thing that I do well is we flip houses and we partner with people and teach people how to flip houses. Okay, and how to invest in real estate. So credit score, yeah, I know what it means and how to do it, but there's people and there's companies that will help you fix yours. I'm here to tell you it matters. Okay, it does matter. There are lenders that aren't going to look at it, but those lenders are going to cost you more. Okay, so it matters. You can still get the funds, but it matters. So even if your credit score right now sucks, like you could be at a 550, that's fine. You get less, you can still do real estate. But if you shoot for that 650 and above, it's going to help you do real estate easier and cheaper on the finance costs. Okay. If I go back to the other screen, you got different tools, you got different lenders. There are lenders that work great with people with bad credit, but they're more expensive. So don't use those if you can qualify for the better loans, the better, cheaper prices because of good credit. Okay. You can start and you should be looking at your personal credit, but also your business credit. Okay. And I've got right here this QR code. This is for our partner Prime Corporate Services. And I got this here because they will actually set up your LLC. They can help you get the EIN registered, and they can help you go through and start working on credit and building your lendability, right? But they can actually help you apply for some loans. But here's the thing: it's really, really important that you get your credit going in the right direction, and then you start working on that business. Okay, not to say you have to wait months and months before it gets done, but you got to make sure that is a focus. Don't just leave it behind and let it be 400. Okay, work on it. Doesn't mean you can't go get a property today. You can work on it. So don't let that be like, oh, I can't invest in real estate. My credit's too bad. No, absolutely not. That's you just saying you're scared and you're afraid and you don't want to move forward. And that's okay to be afraid and scared. But that's why we're here, to help you get over that. Okay. So that's not the reason not to go do a deal. So check it, improve it, but then get that business set up. Okay. Huge piece of this that I'm gonna like, oh no, I can't. My bad. The codes, the NAICS. This is really, really, really important. Okay. I've seen flippers, like real estate investors, I've seen them go and there's a drop down and they're like, oh, I'm an investor. They put investing. It, it's geared towards that's like financial products investing, stocks and Morgan Stanley or Morgan Jones or Edward Jones, whatever. Like that's who they are. So don't mess that up. This is really, really important that you get this right, because when you go to talk to these companies about lending you money, they can't lend. It's against their rules to lend to certain people. Okay, so you want to make sure you don't hit one of those uh, uh, categories that you can't use. So you have to do and pay attention to that. If you're a landlord or property management company or construction company, you want those to be keyed in there. They want to know who you are and what you do. Okay, so don't mess that up. Another huge piece that people totally overlook. Thanks, Terry. I hope you're motivated, man. Let's go. So, the big phone number and email address. and add the regular address. Like this gets overlooked so often. If you really are trying to make a business out of this, when we started, we were going to be, and we still are local home buyers, right? We're local home buyers that renovate homes or provide safe and secure rental housing. We renovate homes for sale and or uh, safe and secure rental housing. Okay, so if you want to be those people, if you want to create that, then you'd have to have a real business address. Now, don't go to don't go get a PO box, okay? Because if it's USPS PO box, a few problems we have there is one is the who is it? FedEx, UPS. One of them doesn't deliver to PO boxes. Okay, you have a big problem there. So you can go and rent a space. You rent a small office if you're available to that. What I really like is the co-working spaces. You can go rent a co-work space. And for very little, monthly fees. Now, if you're not there, right, you don't have the income yet for this. Just go rent the mailbox. Okay. If you're in South Carolina and Columbia, if you want a Columbia address, Bishop, I should put his info in here. Bishop Skyless. Maybe I'll put a link to him. Yeah, I can do that. Bishop. I've given your email out, Bishop. Bishop's got the at rentmidlands.com. He can get you a mailbox, right, for not much, like under $100 a month, and you get the real address. When you have a real address, then when banks look you up and lenders look you up, or buyers or sellers, anybody that's like, oh, this is a real person, it doesn't show up in your neighborhood, right? You don't want it to show up in your neighborhood as that's your address because it just doesn't give the right impression. You remember I say we got to look good? That doesn't look good. The other piece to that, get yourself a phone number that is dedicated to your business, because ultimately one day you might want to sell that business or have an assistant that can answer that phone. Okay, so you don't want it to your personal phone number. Now, I only have one phone, but I use Google Voice. Yeah, Google Voice to transfer that phone number. So you can do that. Email and website. Make sure you go ahead and get it going. All right. Yes, websites can be a little expensive, and I get that. But if you really want to start this business, you might want to consider going ahead and get that website. You don't have to, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a little bit easier as you get going. But the email has to be a professional email. You have to have a good email address. All right. Those are just huge pieces of credibility stack that we are trying to show that we are serious, right? And that's part of it, right? If you can't pay $100 a month for a website, are you really going to be able to pay for these properties you're going to flip? Okay. Yes, we are going to borrow funds for the renovations and the purchase price, but there's going to be things that are out there that you're going to have to spend a little bit of money for. So ask yourself these questions. Am I really ready to get in, right? I'm going to need to spend a little bit to get there, okay? And these pieces are so important. That's one thing. All right, so getting these pieces started, the address and phone number, all that is often overlooked. Use somebody to help you get that LLC set up. All right, let's talk a little. Let's get into what this is. Okay, business credit cards. Once you have that business set up, that thing we just talked about, go and start getting business credit cards that are geared towards the business, not putting it on your own personal credit. There's some great places you can go right now and start with that. Once you have the LLC and the EIN, I guess not right now if you don't have that. The first three people I tell all of our deal partners to go through, all of our clients, is you go to Sherwin-Williams, you go to Lowe's, and you go to Home Depot, and you get the business card, okay? The pro card or whatever they call it. Make sure you're not getting the personal. Get the business, okay? It just gets your business started with credit. Now, there's, I think I put the link down here at the bottom, dealfindersclub.com/funding. On there, there's a link to Fund and Grow, and this is all they do, right? If you really want to dive in and go get a lot of these cards and rewards and stuff like that, they can do it for you. You actually just let them your own permission. They go do the applications, but you don't have to do that. But we've had a lot of success in our community. And there might be people watching that have done it and have seen a lot of success with that. But you don't have to do that. On that same site, Flash Funding, I've got, I think three. I think our top three business credit cards, which is like the Amex, Chase Bank, Chase Inc. maybe, and then Capital on Tap. So I think those three are on there. You can give those a shot as well. Remember I was talking about the screw, don't use the screwdriver for the nail. When we looked at that credit cards, we got to, the Dick Ramsey, and it says no credit cards, no debt, no debt. I get that. It's not for debt. These credit cards are not for debt. These credit cards are not to be paid off, it's 6 years now with minimum payments. These credit cards are to buy something that you're using on a property that you're going to get reimbursed through either you refi it or you flip it within, that year, right? You've got to pay it off within the year plan. Okay. That is what we're looking for with these credit cards. You get more dangerous as you start making the deals work, as you start getting revenue from rental properties, and those credit cards can be more dangerous. You end up putting more and more on it. If you haven't set it up and pay them off every year when the income comes, you mess yourself up. Okay, it's a little slippery slope. I don't get in too much to the rates and the rewards and the 0% offers and stuff like that. Again, Fund and Grow helps you do that. We've got a couple credit cards for each business, and I don't go for credit card hopping, right? That it's possible, but ultimately I would rather you be looking at properties and you could put offers out, make some offer hopping, right? Don't be worried about what these credit cards are trying to entice you and get you plugged in on, right? So get you a couple of cards, just be happy with it. Don't get sucked into all the fun games that they get you, these rewards. If you are making money, if you are paying your cards off, the rewards will come and it'll be great. It'll be just a bucks, okay? But we're not in the credit card reward business or this find the 0% business. We're in the real estate business. So don't let that consume your day. Go find a deal, okay? Of course, the strategy of using these cards is, and if anything is reporting to your credit, you got to keep that. You got to use less than 30%. Business cards, they don't really report as closely as that. So anything that's got your name on it or your credit report, make sure you keep it under 30%. I'm not going to say too much more about this. It's not my lane. Okay. So, business lines of credit versus credit cards, totally different. Your business line of credit is through the bank, and the way the interest works typically is way less. So the way you apply, the way you get approved, the way that it closes, it potentially lines of credit typically close after a year, and you got to all of these things make these two very different situations. So that's why when we ask people to look, we're looking at credit cards, we're looking at lines of credit. Okay, two different things. Personal, and then there's a home equity line of credit. Okay, so home equity line of credit is actually coming off of, you guessed it, your home's equity. Typically, it's going to be off of the primary home, right, where you live. There's always a question like, is there anybody that would do that off of my rental property? I don't know. And you could ask. I guess that's about all there is to that. The personal line of credit, that's going to be tied to your personal credit and your income. And again, are you bankable? Do they like you? Do they like what they see? They like to see long-term employment. They like to see long-term W-2 growth. Okay. The difference here, and just so you know, if you want it, I have a glossary of terms, basically the lender's language glossary, I think is what I called it. I do have that I can send you. So it defines what these terms are: secured versus unsecured, HELOCs, all that. If you want that, let me know. Shoot me a message. You can put a comment here, or if you put a comment here, just say uh, glossary. How about we'll just say give me give me the sheet, right? Just let me know that you're looking for um, the quick sheet, the hot sheet or whatever. What do I call that thing? Tip sheet. So if you just send that to, just make a comment, send me a message, I'll get that over to you, and it goes through all these terms. Term sheet. That was terms sheet. That's what I was trying to come up with. Anyway, send that to me. Secured versus unsecured. Secured means it's attached to an asset. Unsecured means it's not. Pretty simple. Not going to get too much into that. All right. I think we're running up on, we're not too much longer into here. Just a couple more slides. All right. Um, here's our lender types, and we have a lot more. I have some others that I did put in here. But in the lender's language glossary, I've got the notes and all these terms down here. Okay, so we got all that for you. All right, so what is a conventional mortgage lender? All right, conventional mortgage lender is what you think of when you think of like Wells Fargo or Bank of America, Rocket Mortgage. You guys know Rocket Mortgage? I'm over here stretching. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, been standing too long. Uh, Rocket Mortgage, any of those conventional mortgage lenders, or any of the banks that are around you in your community, they are fantastic at getting you the best rates, especially if you're going to live in the house. Okay, if you're doing investments, I don't love it as much. If there's any lenders on here, anybody watching, y'all could just attest to that, or tell me I'm wrong. That'd be fine. But they don't love the investment properties. And why? Well, because it's riskier. If somebody runs into money trouble, they're less likely to not pay that home, the one they live, and they're more likely to not pay that rental property or that flip that they're doing. Okay, so that's the reason. But if you are bankable, if you've got great credit, somebody that was 100 plus, 800 plus, they get great credit. They have a W-2. They might be able to go down to their mortgage guy and say, "Hey, I want to buy this house. I want to buy this house. I'm probably going to do renovations and rent it out." They might say yes. But if you go and say, "I want to, I'm going to do a renovation and I'm going to sell it," they'll probably say no. Conventional mortgage people, and here's the deal: when you do a conventional mortgage, there's a lot of expense that goes into that, and so that bank wants to make the money back. Okay, that's why we look at flip or investor lenders, right? That's when we go to people that really specialize in what we do, because they know how to make it worthwhile for them and for us. All right, so the documents will have all that for you, but in the glossary, but the DSCR loans. These are investor facing, just totally set out for investors. It's debt service coverage ratio loans. Okay. So basically what it's saying is, as long as the debt, the payment you have to make for that property, rental house is what these are, as long as that payment is covered by the rent at a certain rate, that service coverage ratio, that rate, whatever that is, as long as it's covered by that, then they can do the loan. These are the folks that typically aren't looking at credit. Now, they'll look at credit and they'll base your rate on credit, but approval and disapproval, usually it has nothing to do with the credit. Okay. It has everything to do with the asset. And that brings us right into hard money loans, which very much depends on the asset and very little depends on credit. It depend on how much experience do you have doing this business, who are you working with. Someone want to know, who are your contractors, who are your partners, who's teaching you this stuff, who are you working with, what experience do you have, and what is the property. They want to know about that asset. How is this asset? Well, how is my money safe here? They like sometimes they don't even pull your credit. They don't even look at your credit. Okay. So this credit worthiness, this being bankable. Yeah, we've talked about credit as being super important, but if you can't get there today, then it doesn't mean you can't go invest in real estate. That means you need to solve the problem of the experience, partnerships, or whatever that is, and how good is the deal? Okay, and then those smart money lenders, that's what they're there for. Okay, they care about the deal over who you are as a person. So, I'm not gonna get into the rates and points. I think what's important though is that um, the more risk, the higher the price, the higher the points, and higher the interest rates. Okay, so conventional mortgage on your home, low. Hard money on some of it, bad credit. We've never done this before, high. Right, so it's gonna be more expensive. All right, private lenders. We talked about the private lenders in our last meeting. If you want that whole presentation, let me know. Like I said, it's in the Learning Center and get it to you. Yes, Lauren, I got you. I will get that to you, the glossary. And the private lenders, what is it? Who are private lenders? That's just everybody that's got money that's wants to lend it out. Their money needs to make more money than it does at savings account. So they don't have to be millionaires and billionaires, okay? They can be your best friend. They can be your neighbor. They can be your mom, your dad. And it doesn't have to be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I just said earlier that you need $2.1 million, right, this year to do that moves to 10 flips. Your private lender does not have to have 2.1 million, okay? They could be the person that gets you started and only has a couple, maybe 5, 10, 15, maybe 30,000 that gets you through to your down payment, or that gets you through for a earnest money deposit, right, or something like that, or just a little bit of rehab money. Okay, so private lenders, and I can't, I'm not going into all this. I'm getting excited about it. But the private lenders, they're different because they are so flexible. They work with you. It's all about you. A lot of private lenders don't even care. I mean, they care about the house. They want it to be secured by real estate. That's what they care about. Okay, they're not worried about the color of the house or the location most of the time, but it's secured by real estate that's worth more than my loan. That's what the primary goal is for them, because they're looking for higher rates of return, and I know that good real estate investors can create the most secure and sometimes the best rate of return they're going to see. Okay, so private lenders are who they are. Um, Very much built on trust and trying to make it easy and convenient for everybody. So the note, the mortgage, the deed of trust, um, lien waivers, assignment of rents, assignment of mortgage, like all these things that we've got that in the glossary. So let me know again if you want the glossary. Just say glossary. That's fine. Uh, Lauren, I'll get that one to you. Okay. Personal guarantee. Personal guarantee is, we would love to do everything without a personal guarantee. And when we talked about being bankable, when your business gets to a point where it's standing on its own. LLC is now a corporation, right? It is its own thing. You want to not be doing personal guarantees. That business should have enough credit worthiness, should have enough of a track record that it is the guarantee. Okay. And that way you can kind of get away from having your name attached to all this stuff. Because ultimately, as a business, most businesses don't, Walmart's owners don't have their name on their credit cards, on Walmart's credit cards accounts, right? It doesn't hit their credit. So you want to get away from that as much as possible. And it takes time, but it means working on the business as well as yourself. Okay. Oh, and this is the bonus. This is the bonus strategy for capital. Y'all, most people don't think about it but every property already has built-in capital. Every piece of real estate already has built-in capital that you as a buyer can use. Now, maybe I just blew some of your minds, but I guess that's kind of the goal for today anyway, right? Like, here's the deal. If you don't have any capital, you can't bring anything, you can't figure it out, that seller has it all. Every purchase is just the exchange of that capital that's going from your side to their side. What if they were willing to wait for their side? You ever thought about that? How much would that help your business? How many deals could you do if every seller was willing to wait to get their capital? That'd be crazy. Yeah, it's possible. And I'm not saying that's the easiest thing to do. Yes, this is much harder to get these deals done. It's way easier to close a deal when you pay them cash. But if you can't, then why aren't you looking for deals where you can use their capital? And so what does that mean? It basically means every seller can be your bank. Every seller has the potential to be your bank. And you go, you buy it, and you pay them later. You can pay them monthly. You can pay them when you sell it. You can pay them at the flip. You can pay them when you rehab it. You can pay them piece now and piece later. You can do it however you want. But every single deal, and that's the thing that people don't think about, every single deal that you're looking at already has all the capital you need built in. Okay? It's just a matter of how you're going to get it. If you get it out by borrowing from a bank based on the asset value, fine. But you can also borrow it from that seller based on what they're selling.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.